I wish you guys the best with your Yum Yum podcast.
Yum, yum.
Hello, Rachel.
Hello, Ryan.
How are you today?
I'm feeling a little tense being cooped up here with you.
What? You don't like going on a little trip with me? We've been on long trips together. We've been fine. I think we've done very well on our long road trips together. Do you disagree?
We've had moments.
Hear that, everyone? We've had our moments. But I think overall we've survived it, and we'll do it again, because we're on a bit of a trip today, Rachel. For we are here again on Yum Yum Podcast, the only podcast brave enough to name themselves after a hilarious line of dialogue from Star Trek Discovery. Do you remember Star Trek Discovery? Do you recall that show?
Parts. I do remember the Yum Yum line.
You do.
Mainly because you make me talk about it on a weekly basis.
I feel like I've given you a break from it the last several times, but if you really insist, you can tell us about the Yum Yum laugh as well as the Yum Yum line.
But you do it better.
Okay, so we're talking about Killjoys. That's the series we are currently covering on the podcast, and we are coming at it from two different perspectives. I have seen the show before. I watched it when it was initially airing, but I've never rewatched it, so this is my first time rewatching. And Rachel, you're coming at this from a first-time perspective.
Yes, I am. And we are here to talk about the third episode of the fourth season of Killjoys. And I'm excited.
You're excited for Broad Trip? What a title. That in itself is almost like Yum Yum, where Yum Yum, that moment in Star Trek Discovery, is a sequence of events that's very nonsensical. One of the characters is chasing after the main antagonist of the season, and they ask a random side character, hey, do you want to help me torture that guy? Want to help me kill that guy? And this non-character side character flicks their hair back, licks their lips, and sexily, breathily says, yum yum, in reply. And it's just such a moment where your eyebrows raise and you go, huh? And that's what it's like when you read Killjoys titles sometimes. Like, before you get to the episode, I remember reading you this one last week, and you were just like, your eyebrows, like with the yum yum moment, raised, and you're like, huh? Like, Broad Trip, like, I guess I know what's happening, but also, how did they get to that title?
Yeah, but I have that with a lot of Killjoys titles.
That's what I mean. They do this a lot where you're like, oh, okay. I understand it, but how did they get here?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Rachel, how about you tell us what happened in this legendary Broad Trip?
It's so dumb. Such a dumb name. Just, you've said it so many times now. Like, it had, like, such minimal meaning to begin with, but you've placed such emphasis on it. God damn it, Ryan!
I've done nothing. I've just said the name of the episode. That's all I've done.
You've done damage. Unintentionally, but you've done damage. Now I feel like I need to rewrite it to include Broad Trip multiple times, though.
If you just include it at the end of each sentence. Like all right? At the end of each sentence, you just add Broad Trip?
Why is this undoing me so much? Is vintage Johnny lost forever? Or will the Broad Trip save him? Will Zeph come to understand the meaning of love? Or do they need a Broad Trip to show them the way home?
Who's her bro, do you think?
Pre.
Bree. Yeah, I'd say. Or,
out of
or
the
Johnny.
characters there. Yeah.
Probably Johnny, right?
Yeah.
They've kind of got like a sibling dynamic too, mentor-mentee relationship, I guess
Yeah,
you could
true.
argue more.
But he's not there with them.
I've already said that the Yum Yum bit from Star Trek Discovery was funny, and that must mean that we like to look at the funny things in Killjoys. Were there any standout moments that made you laugh?
Pip was knocking it out of the park for me this episode. I got a chuckle from almost every single line he had.
And face he pulled.
I had to take a screenshot of one of the faces. It was that good.
Mm-hmm.
I had to know that it was documented somewhere on Ryan's computer.
He just has a face that you want to pinch those cheeks and punch.
Yes. But it's got to go to him talking about his feelings for Zeph with Johnny's voice being modulated over the top of it as they are running out of air.
Trying to persuade Lucy to lower the protocols, the purge. That was pretty amazing. That was so good. You lost it. Everyone, you should head on over and check out our reaction to this episode because Rachel broke. She broke down. We record our reactions to Killjoys. You can find them on YouTube, edited down, or on our Patreon in full. But check it out because Rachel, we had to have a little break for you to recollect yourself, and it was glorious. I had some good chuckle moments throughout this episode. This was a fairly funny episode. There was a lot of humorous things, but personally, I liked Pre getting to interact with Delsea, and it's one of the bitch lines of the episode too, which is just like, "I'm deputized, bitch," and pointing at his badge with his gun as she's trying to pull rank on him.
Yeah.
It was absolutely glorious. I loved it to pieces. It was very good.
I did like when Delsea is trying to like pull rank on Juno, who's like holding her captive,
the warden of the prison.
Yeah. And he's just like, I keep up with current day events. You're dead.
Oh, I really enjoyed too when he started to lay out his villain plan, and then she's like, "Don't villain-splain me," because she's just that gal. And there were a few bitches in this episode dropped by characters.
But
Two out of
no
them,
nut shots.
No?
It's 21. Ryan,
21
go ahead.
episodes since someone got kicked in the genitals.
Yep.
Okay, Rachel's keeping an eye out. When Rachel watches it, she actually puts up a little frame, and she puts it over the screen and makes sure to angle it just on everyone's genitals in the shot, just so that's what she's watching to make sure she gets kicked. They get kicked in there.
Yeah, but the people surely have checked out the reactions and can see that I don't do that.
Well, what they can't see off the frame of what we are in is different, you know? I have the camera set up in a way where we hide what Rachel's doing there. But I have to say this. There's only 3 bitches in this episode. Killjoys loves to put the word bitch and or bitches in their episodes, and there were 3. 2 of them were uttered by Pre. So there you go. And they were all very good, but they also came late into the episode. Like once they were already on the ship and dealing with Lucy, and that's a good chunk of the episode through. So they held off. I've noticed this in season 4. They've been dropping their bitches very
like
late in the game and
third,
or infrequently.
Act.
Yeah, and they're not doing too many. Like we're not getting half a dozen bitches in the first episode, you know?
No.
Last episode we got like 1. So I'm keeping track. Let's see. I hope that they're not decreasing. I hope what they're doing is they're lulling us into a sense of false security, thinking, they've eased up on this.
Well,
Only for
Dutch
them...
has been there less.
Dutch has been there less. She had it the most last season. Do you think someone else will get it the most? Will it be Lucy? We'll have to wait and see.
We shall see. We shall see. We also like to touch base on who has written and who has directed each of these episodes of Killjoys, and both are returning names.
That is correct. The director, Samir, literally directed the last episode.
Which may add to the feeling of it being a non-official two-parter.
This episode does have second part to it. This one just feels like a part, like in direct flow with the last episode. And Samir, he's been here before. Obviously, last episode he was here. He did Necropolis Now in season 3, and this is his last episode on Killjoys. He only does 3, but it is good to note, like, he did do this one, and I thought the direction was a step up from what we got last episode from him. There was a few more stylish shots thrown in.
But that exterior shot was still here.
They had a new exterior shot of the prison, Rachel. They had a new one.
They used both.
Yeah, but they did give us a new one.
They did give us a new one, yes.
Samir argued tooth and nail, let me get that other shot. And that was the most expensive thing of this season, was getting that new shot, because they couldn't afford getting good CGI goo because of that. You know, there's a scene later in this episode where you have the worst special effects shot that Killjoys has ever put to screen. And I think it's because they didn't have enough money, because they had to get that exterior shot for Samir.
The worst shots.
Mm-hmm.
The worst CG shots in this show have pretty much all been green goo related.
Because it's unreal to begin with. And so when you make a CG effect, it's harder to buy into the reality. Like, liquid effects can be very good to make in CG, but when you give it a surreal color like a green, like a really bright green, it's just all the more noticeable. And because they have used a ton of real practical slime and goo, so we know the difference. And it is a thing that I ask, why didn't they just get a close-up shot of a tub of green goo and a gun being thrown in there? That's all you needed. You didn't need a CGI composite. But that is a part of the discussion of this episode. Samir, he other than that, fairly good job. There were some nighttime scenes that looked pretty decent as well. Some handful of action set pieces, but nothing too flashy, because this is more of a character-driven episode. And the performances were really good. Like, the guest star performances were really good. There was the main guy in particular, the warden.
There was simplicity and flair in the direction this episode.
It's been a very long day. So, either get me a drink or get out of my way.
I think you're going to be staying a while. And imbibing would be unwise in your delicate condition.
Oh, there's nothing delicate about me or my condition.
And we have a returning writer who's a big voice in the series. They're a script editor for the most part, a consulting producer, Julian Doucette. We have talked about him a few times. He's also done some acting work in the show, mainly voices. And he will return this season to write another episode, so we shall keep an eye out. And, of course, he will be back for the 5th season as well. So we still have a few more from him to keep track of. But we've talked about this with Julian before. Him being a script editor means that he has his finger on the pulse of these characters, perhaps more so than some of the other writers that come in. This episode had a real sense of continuity to it. There was so many direct callbacks to things previously established in the show, as well as just extensions of things that we have evoked in the show in the past, whether it is the family histories of the Jacobys. We got a lot more family backstory discussion in this episode, like when they went camping, or we got the callback to the Nova Cadets, and referencing the fact that Johnny has leaned on the Davin left me behind attitude way too often, and it's getting tired now. Like, there's a lot of meta stuff, but I would say in comparison to season 3, this isn't wink wink haha type of jokey aren't we being ever so clever
for
meta
the
stuff.
audience. A lot of the time it's Johnny performing for Davin.
And it's the episode cherry-picking things from its past and saying, can we do something with this? Can we make this dramatic? Can we spin gold out of this? And they managed to do it many, many times over. But how did you feel about Broad Trip overall?
I enjoyed this episode more than I was kind of expecting to with the title, and there were several wobbly aspects to episode 2, so I was like, okay, what are we going into? Where are they going with this? What are they going to play with? And I was pleasantly surprised. Like, they balance having 3 plots really well, because all 3 are so tightly linked, but also distinct from one another. We have the stuff that's happening with Johnny and Davin, and that conflict and that internal conflict within Johnny as well, that's, materialized through his psychic connection with Dutch. But we also have Davin having an internal conflict, but that's more subdued. That's more implicit rather than explicit. And then we have Dulcea trying to get out of the situation that she's found herself in. And then we have Zeph, Pri, and Pippin, who are trying to find Lucy so that they can find the Jacobys.
I'm really impressed with this episode overall. And I will say, I think a part of my enjoyment of it isn't necessarily confined to these 45 minutes, but to this being the ongoing opening of this season. I think of the previous first few episodes of the other seasons, and they were very drastic in quality. We would have a stinker, but then we would have some gold. While I think that these first 3 episodes of season 4 have been consistent with one another, and they've been really leaning into just good character work. Season 3's opening section maybe presented a more grand in scope and crystal clear premise for what the season would be. Season 4 is a little bit more vague with that. It's mainly about like the immediate character drama, like Dulcea is going to give birth, Dutch has come back from the goo, but that doesn't necessarily translate into what the whole season is about, like with season 3. But I feel like this has taken a lot of the good character work that we saw in season 3 and mixed it together with the kind of plotting stuff that we had in season 2, where you look back at the opening of season 2, wasn't crystal clear where we would go, but when you think back on it, you're like, oh no, things were there.
But I'm glad that they are delivering on what they've set up so far this season in terms of what's the focus.
Mm-hmm.
Because last season was very much expanding out and going beyond the quad and this great threat that was impending. But now it's very much what is happening to our characters inside of this situation. So it's not neglecting that threat.
No, it's still teasing
but it's shifting perspective.
Each one of these plots is just characters talking to one another and trying to figure out what's the best way to move forward. And they do it each in their own style, each in their own way that defines them. Even Johnny, who's now made more evil and more Hullen, it's still tapping into what makes Johnny who he is and using that for a sinister purpose. It's not like Johnny is now a completely different guy in this situation. Like, he's losing his mind, he's losing his grip on humanity, but you still have the essence of his character, but we're seeing it be used for all of the wrong reasons. And you have that with each one of these stories where it's like, okay, Delcea's in a certain situation and she uses her set of skills to get out of it. Zeph, Pippin, they use their set of skills and their character traits to get into situations and to find the other characters. And it's really, really, really good.
It's rewarding. That's what it is. Because it's paying off these characters that we've been with for quite some time now. And even the characters that are newer are so solid and embedded within the show that it doesn't feel like, oh, and now we have to do them, or, oh, yeah, they're fresh, we get something. It's like all of them have started this season as a part of the ensemble.
Yeah. I think in our experience being a podcast that covers science fiction television, I'm sure this applies to a lot of television, but this is what we cover as science fiction. Many times over, an issue we have that makes something less engaging of an episode is when we are in demand of what the plot requires rather than seeing the characters be the thing that move us through the plot. And this is an episode where that is exemplified of like, this could have been, if you adjusted it to the left a little, could have been one where we're watching them be sacrificed for the needs of their given plot, focus on the plot. But it's actually the other way around, the way that we like, in which the plot is in need of the characters. The characters are getting us through the thing, and we're enjoying how the characters are plowing through and going through and making headway, rather than seeing the plot do all of the work.
Really? Now you come?
Hi, we have warrants.
Last episode, we were very praising of the portrayal from performance and script of the psychotic version of Johnny. But it's very differently pitched in this episode, and I think it's all the better for it.
He's playing up having moments of being vintage Johnny,
as he calls it, yeah.
Which I absolutely love. I absolutely love. But he's playing up those glimpses to try and get what he wants from Davin.
He is manipulating rather than intimidating. He is manipulating those around him, whether it's the Dutch in his head or his brother right in front of him, and he's even lying to himself as well. Like, there's moments where Dutch isn't there and he's still talking to himself, like he's trying to convince himself that he's got this under control. Johnny, throughout this episode, has his sinister plan in which he is going to use Davin and his means with the green, his powers with the green, to track down more plasma.
I like that aspect. What I didn't like as much was how they, at various points, usually before it felt like it was going into an ad break, they would have Johnny say something like, well, what makes you think he's going to make it out alive? Or who, like, those kind of things.
Very scripty.
I was just like, I didn't need that, because, like, he's enough of a threat without saying that. But also them doing that several times without actually sharing or indicating in any meaningful way that Johnny did have a plan to kill Davin, specifically of like, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and then Davin's going to die, and then I'll do this, this, and that. It was just like, well, I'm willing to kill him. But then they made a point of like, well, I don't know, I'm going to kill him. And it's like, but if you're going to threaten that, I want to feel the threat. I want to feel the stakes, not just you pulling on my emotional reaction before I go into an ad break.
Yeah.
That felt lazy, and that made me less scared for Davin because it felt performative on the level of the script, not on the level of Johnny.
Exactly. It is very tried and true. You do this because it's what you do. You have to communicate to the audience that Johnny is going to betray Davin, but you've already effectively done that.
That's my gripe is amazing. Like the fact that that's the level that I'm going to be like, but you know, this niggles at me is truly amazing because there's so many other ways that a plot like this could go wrong.
Because they have two striking things that really wash away that issue. One, the premise that is using Davin as a human witching rod is very fun. It's a very good extension and exploration. And again, use of Davin has magical green goo powers. Because that is brought up in this episode, not just for this, but also as a way that Davin can fight back against Johnny. Like, I could kill you with my own powers. So Johnny can't immediately just dick over Davin because he has to think of how to work around that. Then the other thing that is the most important, and it goes back to what we've been saying again, character, which is the blurriness of how many moments Johnny is using their familial connection and their past as a means of manipulation, or the real Johnny trying to reconnect to his own humanity. It is actually pretty well done in terms of being unable to read all of the moments as either false or true.
I just read them all as false, though.
But then you have all the stuff with Dutch.
Like,
where she's like indicating like there is the real Johnny here.
Yeah,
and you do get Aaron Ashmore flicking between these two modes.
Oh, yeah, but I should clarify. I never bought any of the moments where Johnny was openly being like vintage Johnny to Davin as being a genuine moment of him connecting. The moments with Dutch, the flickers, I was like, maybe that's him. Maybe that's the real him. But as soon as he was doing it to Davin, I didn't buy that.
See, I do in a way as well, because even the more mean-spirited things, here's the question. How much of that is actually what Johnny feels deep within himself?
Oh, a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. Like, it's him tapping into raw things of Johnny, but it is for a purpose. It is for manipulation. So it's Helen on top.
Yeah. I have a question for you, because the episode itself raises this as an issue that the show has. Do you feel that they have leaned too heavily or too often on the rift between these brothers because of Davin having left and just their general dispositions as people being different to one another?
Yes and no. The show has highlighted how it's low-hanging fruit and that Davin is growing more tired of Johnny using that, because it's just like, well, I've stuck around this long. I've done all of this. I can't go back and change what I did, but I'm showing up now. I'm going to do the right thing now.
Mm-hmm.
But it also feels genuine that Johnny has never fully healed from that. Never fully forgiven Davin for that.
And he's still suffering in that way as well, because and he mentions it about Davin is always trying to do the right thing. And often that right thing makes Johnny suffer. Like he says, you teamed up with Dulcea. this horrible person. Like, he lists all the things Dulcea has done. And that
Killed the
includes
love of my life.
Killed the love of my life and betrayed us and bombed civilians and all that. And you teamed up with her. And he's like, look, and I understand I was dying and everything, and you felt the need to save me, but at what cost? Like, you didn't think about the cost to me. You thought about the cost for you as my brother, the responsibility you feel. And the Dutch in his head even says to Johnny that Davin won't be able to keep being the strong man in this because he's losing everyone he loves. And that includes Johnny. And that's a part of like why he did all of this, is like he doesn't want to lose another one he loves, but at the same time, at what cost to Johnny? And we've talked about it already, but Dutch is appearing in Johnny's head. And there's a question of like, is this the Dutch from the green space? Is this just a Dutch in his head? What is this Dutch? Who is this Dutch? But most importantly, what are we getting from this version of Dutch? And it is that she's this voice of reason in him. And what do you feel about this? Like, do you feel like this works, or do you feel like this is like a way production can have Hannah John-Kamen in the show? Like, what are you feeling?
Like, I feel like this works really well. Having this be the face of Johnny's conscience, but also having the lines blurred of how much of this is Johnny and how much of this is Dutch, and how much of this is the real Dutch, or is this a memory version of Dutch, and that being a way that they can make it so that this version, this potential figment of Johnny's imagination, grounds him in the way that he needs in that moment, or the push that the script needs. But it doesn't have to be tied to any one specific version. It can play with and flip between. And I think a great thing that the show does to show that is the differences in Hannah's performance of Dutch.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of subtle things.
Okay, but it worked. We got away.
Oh, he really brought down the house.
Hey, a little thanks. I pulled a total hero move back there.
By almost killing us both.
I'm pretty sure you were clinically dead about an hour ago.
Don't be such drama queen.
Drama queen? You're barely breathing and talking to the goddamn air.
Do you want to talk about Dulcea?
Of course I want to talk about Dulcea. I adored this little subplot of hers because, one, it shows how Killjoys doesn't drop plots for convenience. They set up the threat of the prison wardens last episode. They set up that she was caught, and they follow through on it. They don't go, we're not dealing with that, or we're going to have other people step in and save her.
Or she's whisked off to some other location and we have some new kind of plot. Like, she's put back in the organ harvesting prison.
Yep.
And that matters.
Yep. And we get to see her do her thing, which we haven't seen in a while. We haven't been shown what she's capable of in that same way, because last season it was more about her worming her way in with Anila
and having to face off against Gander, another person who's as equally skilled as she was in their wormy manipulations, but in the end couldn't hack it.
No.
But in this, it's like you're seeing her interact with a person lower down than her, but someone who doesn't respect her.
Mm-hmm. So she's still on the back foot, but she has no point in which she's questioning herself, and it doesn't feel like arrogance because we know We know that she can do this.
But also, it is arrogance, but it's...
Yeah, like...
But here's the thing. It's okay because this is the character.
Yeah.
She is proudly a villain.
Yes.
She is a piece of scum, but this is the question, though. This is the question that has to be asked. Are they too in love with her as a character, the show? Because in the first few seasons, she is clearly an arched character. She's very campy. This performance is very over the top. But there is a knowingness to the fact that she is the problem with the world. She is the elite. She's one of the 9. She bombs civilians. She makes a wall to round them up. Like, she does heinous shit and the show knows it. But have they started to lean into she's a boss bitch, isn't it cool?
Torture of children?
Yeah, torture of children. Like, you know, have they leaned a little too much of being in love with her? Or is it just that this is part and parcel of now making her a primary focus character?
I think it's the latter. I think that they haven't forgiven her.
Mm-hmm.
And that is particularly put on Johnny to point that out. And the show has adjusted her level of campiness so that it's more palatable to have her around for more of an episode, for more of the show.
You know what she reminds me of? So, there's one, I'll say the obvious, I'll get it out of the way. This is George Al done right. You know, George Al from Star Trek Discovery. If they actually did it correctly, you know, where you have an evil, campy villainess who's like literally the empress of the system that's corrupt, and they stay in the show. This is if it was done correctly, more so. But the thing she reminds me of, and this is, you know, I don't know if you'll agree or not, but, you know, Firefly is a thing that exists that always gets compared to Killjoys, and we rarely bring it up because, honestly, I think there's a lot of differences, and I don't like Firefly, so I don't bring it up. But this actually reminds me more of another Joss Whedon, which is Buffy, with Spike.
Yes.
Where Spike's a piece of shit, he's an awful person, but also he's sweet and da-da-da-da-da. They don't do the sweet part with Dulcea so much. It's more like she's in love with another piece of shit. That's the sweet part. But there is that thing.
That tickles.
But there is that thing of, like, the show has this villainous force in it, but the characters have to interact with them in a frenemy type of way, even though they have legitimate grievances with each other. Well, mainly in this show, it's one way. They have legitimate grievances with her. But
Johnny also killed her.
No, she has no legitimate grievances. She deserved it. Like, that's the thing, she deserved it. And in the end, it got her what she wanted.
True.
But, yeah, I get that feeling of, like, when Spike started to become more of a central character in Buffy. And I don't know, I'm not a big Buffy expert. I wonder if that was ever an issue with people of, like, oh, is it an issue that they're making the bad guy too, like, cool of a guy? Because I think everyone just likes Spike.
Yeah, but there are people who never forgive Spike.
Joss Whedon being one. Like, he was just so upset that people wanted more Spike because it ruined the bad guy allegory thing that they were going for in the show. But I was thinking of that when watching this, because this episode's plot with her is mainly watching her be, and I'm not being silly when I say this, but it's watching her be a girl boss. It's like, watch her girl boss her way through this story. Watch her
She's giving mother.
She's giving mother. And I want to say it's very of its time, but I think that media still does this. Media still does this type of thing with these type of characters, and I'm just going to say it. I like it. I like it.
Oh.
I like girl boss characters, especially if they're knowingly girl boss and knowingly villainous. I like it. People kind of raise it up as like a negative thing, like, oh, just shorthand for that's bad. Hey, what can I say? I grew up watching Desperate Housewives. I like this.
You're a simple man.
I'm a man that just likes seeing a woman wear an elaborate dress and raise a pinky in the air as they tell a man that they're worthless. Oh, you wanted to know. You wanted to know who the actor was of the warden.
Yes, I did.
So, we were doing our reaction. Rachel was instantly like, I know this guy. I know this actor. I know him from something. But you couldn't look it up in case he comes back. So, this character, do you want to explain the character a little bit more and like what's his deal in the episode?
He's the warden that has come in to round up the Killjoys. So he's attacking Davin and Johnny, but he also has Dulcea back at the little organ harvesting hut. And he is a slimy piece of trash who is going against the company and selling babies?
Just organs in general. So he wants to organ harvest and the baby and all of the stuff the baby, whether he sells the baby or organ harvests the baby.
The side.
Yeah, he's doing shady shit. He's willing to do he's willing to do shady shit to like cut corners.
Yes.
While cutting flesh, yeah.
Yes. But who is he?
So this actor is Billy McLean. And he is in a bunch of things. Like, he's in the Nobody films, the Bob Odenkirk movies.
Okay. We haven't watched those.
He's done a few stunt things, like 4 or 5 stunt things, but he's an actor.
Yeah.
And he's in everything that you can imagine. But in terms of what we know him from, is he was in an episode of Star Trek Discovery's first season in one of the Georgiou Mirror Universe episodes of the first season. However, what we know him from, and I immediately was like, oh, it's the same guy. So this was a few years earlier.
Yeah.
His episode was in 2016. He was in the first season of The Expanse.
I knew it. I was
do
like,
you know who he was?
Like he looks like somebody from The Expanse, but I couldn't.
He is in The Expanse. He has a very great sequence because he is a framing device of the introduction of Fred Johnson, a big character in that. This character is a struggling father who is demanding freedom, and without getting into too much, things go bad for him, his character. But what we see of him is, in that episode, he's a framing device where he's always talking to camera because he's trying to give a thing while holding his daughter in his arms. Same guy, same look, but basically this show, he has more of a filled out beard and greased hair. But it was that guy. I'm like, oh, it's that guy. When you were watching it, I'm like, I know who it is. It's a guy from The Expanse. But I wanted to make sure to look into if there was anything else, but those were the things. So he has popped up from time to time. You know, the Dulcea stuff is just fun. Like, I don't have too much. There's nothing like too deep here. That's the thing that I think I don't like about Dulcea
It gives the right amount of time to it for what it is.
But I think that's my sticking point with Dulcea in these 2 episodes we've had is her stuff lacks any depth for me, but it's just entertaining.
Yes.
Like, she'll have a scorching line, that actress will give a great performance, but when it comes to like delving into anything deeper with her character-wise, because she's such a mustache twirler, there's really not much there currently in this season. Last season there was, but this season, not so much yet, because like what she does is like, she does a villain thing to outdo a villain. Okay. Neat.
We are not through.
Don't villains blame me, honey. I'm the master.
This episode does something interesting, which is we have each one of the characters on the armada that we get in this episode. Turin is here for a brief moment. Pre is here. Obviously, Zeph and
Fancy's
Pippin.
not crammed
Fancy's not
in.
here. And it's important he's not here because we are playing with the dolls, which are the Hullen that are in a standby mode or in a glitching mode. They're like the silicates in Space Above and Beyond, where they have a message repeating in their head constantly that's making them freeze up. Why it's important Fancy's in here, because we get to see these other characters enter the weird ethical zone of experimenting and weaponizing and utilizing these living beings for their own means, but they dehumanize them because it's better for them. And we could see each one of them have their different opinions on that, but in the end fall into line with doing it anyway.
Zeph is unflinching when it comes to herself. Well, it's Holland. They don't count.
She's unflinching in terms of just that's been her attitude about science, is science and morality don't necessarily have to commingle for her. It's about the results. In season 3, it was like her arrogance and her lack of manners, but there were moments of talking about like she's willing to cross certain moral lines to get to her scientific end results, and that's just amplified in this story. And even though it's a small part of it, it is the introduction part of this episode, and
it sets the tone.
And I wanted to know your feelings about like how you react to Pippin, Zeph, and Turin's playing around with this doll figure that they've got, because they've now lobotomized one constantly to make it work for them.
Start with Turin. I like that he is so pissed off that she's just gone and done this, because it makes complete sense for him. And the fact that he drops almost all of the attitude as soon as he sees results.
He's worried that it's a security risk. That's why he's pissed off.
He's not worried about the morality thing, which makes sense for Turin, even though last episode he's like, I'm on a moral arc.
But he still is who he is.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just suddenly say, I'm on a moral redemption arc, and then suddenly it's all over what you were before.
No, he isn't a completely changed person just because he listens to Fancy and hasn't spaced all of the dolls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Turin was interesting because he's only really in that one moment, and we see him, you know, go from one extreme to the other, but it's consistent with who he is as a character. He's not a man. Here's how I describe Turin. And I say this lovingly. I like the character, even though I've been annoyed by him. He's not a man of nuance.
No.
He is not a Star Trek character. He's not the guy.
He's a new Trek.
He's not the guy that, like, when they capture Hugh the Borg, he would be like, well, he's a human. He's one of us deep down. Like, that's not Turin at the, you know, that's not him in this episode. He's like, I don't give a fuck about it. He's not even going to consider that.
Turin could be a new Trek character.
Yeah. But that actor, you know, he has a great moment. We end the segment with him, and he's left with that Hullen that's basically been made into a worker ant, and he like leans on the thing and gives him like a coy look of like, you just know from the look from that actor that Turin's like, oh, a new toy to play with. And it's sinister, but also it's kind of funny. Just like this, I don't know.
Yeah, it's sinister without being threatening.
Yeah.
Might be a good way of putting it.
And we've had all this growth with Zeph, you know?
Yes.
She's gone on such a big journey. Last episode, we were talking about how, you know, now she's the leader of Team Awesome Force. She's the only one left. She's trying to evoke Johnny and Davin and Dutch, and she's trying to be her own person as well. But then we see her back in science mode, and she is almost reverted to what we saw her in her first appearance.
Yep. She's putting limitations on herself, retreating back to her comfort zone, because her being like, well, no, I can only do sex. Lots of sex. Helps me think.
Yes. That's in regards to Pippin.
Yes. Yeah. But that is the place that we start with her, of like, oh, no. Don't do relationships, which is something that the show has done multiple times.
That sex is very transactional. It's a tool.
But
it's a means to an end.
Particularly men coming to women with that conversation, and the women being like, "Oh no, no, not feelings, not with feelings."
Yeah, it's interesting because like with the sex thing, you know, it's her setting a very firm mindset about how relationships work for her, what she needs of them. And that is also her relationship with the morality of the situation of experimenting on a living being and her science. And season 3 was all about her learning that things need to be flexible. You need to start to able to open up in ways.
Yeah,
but
she's pulling back in.
Exactly. She's now retreating back into the things that make her comfortable because results are results. Sex is sex. Like, if you just define them simply, then it doesn't matter. And it's interesting to have her and Turin paired in that way, where Turin does this, but from like a cop mindset, from a security mindset, from a military mindset, and she does it from a scientist mindset.
And we as the audience still judge both of them for that position. And it makes them more interesting together as well, as because you get that comparison, but you also get their differing approaches to leadership as well.
In a story like this, you always have to have the voice of the audience be there as like the moral standing of saying, like, we the audience know that this is wrong. The show knows that this is wrong, or at least that there's more complicating factors to it. And Pippin is that in this scene. Pippin not being a scientist, not being a soldier, him just being a con man hacker type. He looks at this and he's horrified by it, but he's intrigued by it. And that's the thing that makes this more interesting, because this isn't a Star Trek episode.
No.
This isn't a Star Trek episode where we're going to have a little morality
It's not
play.
about that thing.
So-
that is a means to an end, and that's part of the commentary on that action.
Because they
But-
tease you, Rachel. They say, okay, Pippin's going to side with us, the audience. And then, because a part of him being the con man type, he gets fascinated with a quirky thing. He starts to buy into it. He's like, yeah, this is a good idea. Like, he's the one that's like, these are people after all. Should we do this?
He's not morally superior to
No!
Zeph.
He's not morally superior to anyone. And he's a man that buckles very easily. But that's what was so fun about this. And I just want to know, though, we see this scene. It's a great scene. It's really well done, just all of this. But I want to know your opinion on how the series has been handling, in your mind, whether or not we should look at the Hullen as people, because there have been many times where the pendulum has swung one way and swung the other. But do you think it's been deliberate, or do you think it's an episode by episode, case by
I think
case?
it's deliberate, because it's exploring how human can you say that this alien force is. And that has also been explored through the questioning and playing with how much emotion of the Hullen is real.
And they're victims. They are people infected by a parasite.
You've got the cleansed process and consequences with Fancy as another exploration of this. They're coming at it from lots of different points of view, and it doesn't feel like it's what's convenient. It feels like them treating this Hullen and, lobotomizing him. It doesn't feel like they need this to happen this week, so that's what that does.
Yeah.
It's they need this thing. This is a tool that they can use. So yeah, Zeph wouldn't question it. Pip would for a second and then turn, and then Turin would be more concerned with the security risks.
Yeah.
All makes sense. All comes from who these people are, not what needs to happen.
And something that's very, very, very key here to underline is there is a difference between how the characters feel and how the show feels. Because we talk about this many times over. The show is filled with characters who aren't from the Quad. And for the first 2 seasons, it's their home because they live there, but it's not their home because they're from there. And then throughout the seasons, they become accepting of this is their home, this is where they're from, this is what they need to protect. And, that's key. And this is another example of, like, all of these characters, like pretty much every character in this show that aren't Hullans themselves, like Dulcea and Anila, do not view the Hullan in the way that we are talking about. Like, they view them as as a threat, most of them. Davin's probably the exception, and Johnny to a looser extent as well. But they do dehumanize them. They don't think of them as victims.
No.
Like they should. Like we're talking about with the cleanse. Like we have the whole thing with the cleanse. And even with that, we still have to be like, these are monsters in a way, but the show knows. I feel the show knows. And you know how they know? Because in this episode where we have this, it's contrasted by everything with Johnny, where he's literally going through a metamorphosis of humanity and Hullan. And like, what are we losing with that? Like, we actually have a first-hand experience of someone we care about being turned into one of these things.
He's losing everyone he loves.
I'm right here.
Not really, Johnny. Not anymore. I'm all that's left of you. But not for much longer, am I?
Zeph and Pippin, are they getting closer to one another romantically speaking? Because at the end of last season, you know, they smushed them together. They had a sexy time because, in a way, you know, the two nerdy characters, the two eccentric new side characters, let's pair them together and see what happens. And we're picking up from that, where Pippin is you, the audience member, going, I'm interested in this. Would you be down for this being an OTP? And Zeph being like, no, I'm not interested in it in that way. And you had a good giggle about this dynamic throughout the episode. So I take it that you enjoyed it. You didn't find it frustrating?
I really enjoyed it. I like the way that they're playing with it. I enjoy them exploring this aspect of Pippin because we've seen him be so insecure when it comes to emotional things and interpersonal things. So him latching on to Zeph in this way, it makes complete sense. It doesn't feel like they made the dude bro character catch feelings.
Their chemistry as well. The actors have stunning chemistry. It's not a shock that we have seen them in two different shows be paired together as a duo. In The Expanse, they were, you know, co-workers and whatnot. They were two soldiers in that. But they were a duo in that episode. And then in this show, they're a duo as well, whether it is in this romantic way, in a comedic way, or just they are these two, you know, more eccentric...
Collaborators.
Yeah, the collaborators. They're these two eccentric, kind of nerdier characters in a show of people who wear leather pants. And there's a lot of, you got to be the leather pants. You got to get in the leather pants.
I loved every single thing that Pre did in this episode. Every single thing.
Is there a time when that isn't true? Pre's the best.
Pre's the best. And
he gets deputized. Him and Pippin become rack agents.
I loved that little scene. Like Zeph being unable to contain her excitement, saying it along with Turin, and Pre being like, that's kind of my thing, and then Pippin being like, that's kind of my thing.
It was great. And they're sent off to go look for Lucy. They through a series of, you know, elaborate technobabble reasons, managed to find her.
Yep.
And they go there, and of course she's been reset to her base program so that no one can steal her in case the Hullan try to get her. And so they have to figure out the way of getting into her. But since Johnny's not here, they don't necessarily know what the code is. And it's a very stock standard sci-fi plot of like, you're stuck on the ship with a countdown until we die. But it is made more entertaining because the ship is a character we care about for a start.
Yeah.
And so there's that. Even though she's made into her base program form, there is a minor tragedy to even that. But also just
Yeah, she's going to wipe her memories.
Yeah, her memories.
And that will
yeah.
lose their ability to
Oh,
find...
they need to at least unlock her.
Find Johnny and Davin, of course. But also that means that we lose Lucy.
Yeah. And
I didn't mention that when I was talking about all the threats of death.
Threats of death, lots of them. And it's just made all the more because you got Pre, you've got Zeph, you've got Pippin. They're the ones that are dealing with this problem. And they are very specific characters, and they bring specific things to their way of going about problems. It's back to problem solving. And in the end, they find out that it's a song, that Johnny has a song that activates it, and it's because Pre starts singing, and they realize, oh, maybe it's like a song, and they bring back the song Johnny was listening to when he stole Lucy back last season.
And the thing that Pip finds in Johnny's room, like the old...
Yeah, PDD.
Mm-hmm.
That has robot porn, tons and tons of robot porn. But yeah, it was a nice callback. Like, this is, again, what I'm saying about, like, the show is keeping its continuity. It's grabbing things, bringing them back in ways that are unexpected but line up with what we're doing here. And even though this is a fairly small part of the episode, it's rich with character material and just these actors having fun. Like, each one of these actors is having a real fun time.
And we're having fun along with them, even though they're in mortal peril.
To wrap this out here, the episode obviously needs us to have things to look forward to, so our teams reunite. Dutch comes out of the plasma pool. Johnny is saved, but not fully. His psychosis is getting worse. We don't know what's happening with Dutch. She's still unconscious.
There's nothing physically wrong with her, but she won't wake up. A tentpole of sci-fi.
And a tentpole of drama. Da dun da. Delcea's waters broke.
Yeah, and I really like that because Zeph is like, she's like a week overdue, and she was given a bunch of medicines to try and make her contractions start, but they didn't see any consequences of that.
Yeah.
And then at the end, the water's breaking. It's like, oh, you were paying attention.
So you are getting closer to your prediction of Delcea will give birth.
I am.
Are you surprised that it's taken this long of
Not
the season?
really. Not really. Like they're pacing things out, and it's something that I'm not ready for the show to have to deal with the potential end of humanity. So I don't mind that she stayed pregnant a little bit longer.
So, any other thoughts on this episode? I know we kind of rushed through some of the things at the end. Any like opinions on those, theories, queries, anything?
Oh, I do wonder, like, I feel like you would have said something to me at the time if the baby comes out and is Renesmee style. Do you know what I mean by that, Ryan?
Where they CGI Hannah John-Kamen's face and Luke McFarlane's face onto a baby? Is that what you're saying to me?
That, but also the accelerated growth.
Yeah.
So I feel like you would have said something to me at the time about that. So I feel like I would know if that was the case, but maybe not. Maybe at this point you were like, I'm not telling her shit. I'm going to make her watch it someday.
I actually never thought that, honestly. I don't know why, but when I watched Killjoys, I just never thought, oh, Rachel would be into this. I guess I just didn't. It was a show that was for me. That's what it was, and my sister recommended it. So it was like a show that Alana and I watched.
Yes.
You know, our own little broad trip in a way with media. You know, you and I have our broad trip with media. That's what Star Trek Discovery is for. Where
Why
you're the
must
only
you
person
make
I
me
know.
suffer?
You are actually the only person I know in my real life, not through the internet, You're the only person I know in my real life who has watched all of Star Trek Discovery. Isn't that interesting? And it's only because we did it for the podcast. I don't know, like,
Oh, yeah.
anyone.
Well,
Like,
Brene watched all of it,
no.
didn't she?
Nope.
Did she start?
Nope.
I thought she
didn't
watched
even
it with
watch-
it.
Nope.
I thought she watched it with her in-laws.
Nope.
Hmm.
Nope. Strange New Worlds. Not Discovery.
Yeah.
So, yeah, your friend Brene? No. No. Because I've
Okay.
referenced stuff and she doesn't know any of it. So, yeah. But I need you to tell me about the Yum Yum rating system and what you put this episode in as.
Yum, bad, yum, good. Road trip, yum.
Yum yum.
This episode is a Yum Yum.
Yum.
And I'm going to reveal a shocking thing to you now.
What?
Everyone, you're a fool if you didn't listen all the way to the end. If you missed this, your soul is crying. Because I'm going to reveal something here.
Mm-hmm.
Shock of shocks. I remembered this episode very vividly.
Mm.
I remembered this one, and I was dreading this one. Because for some reason, in my mind, this was the worst episode of the show.
What?
I remembered this episode very negatively. Part of it was, and I think this is kind of like what I now have issues with Heist Baby, was I remembered all of the humor being far too in the wrong direction. I remembered it kind of feeling more misogynistic rather than that playful thing.
Yeah.
I remembered it just being really dumb and not my cup of tea. Something about this one, in my first viewing experience, I really had a negative reaction to. I was just not impressed with it at all. And now here I am, and I'm like, what was my problem? This worked really well. Like, there's a couple of things that don't work for me, nothing major. This was a fun time. I had a really good time with this. Now, I'm sure, Rachel.
Yeah. Am I going to have a fun time with the next episode title?
You know what? I'm going to be bold.
Oh!
I am going to be bold yet again. And I'm going to say that you have to wait for me to give you the gesture, because this is a long title. Okay? This title for episode 4 of season 4 is as such: What to expect when you're expecting an alien parasite.
Yeah.
It does have an ellipses.
Uh-huh.
I am going to be bold and say that's the best title that the show has done. And probably will do. I can't remember the ones later in the season or season. There's some in season 5.
Johnny
I remember.
Be Good.
Johnny Be Good's as good, and I like the season 2 finale. You know, how to
What was
lose
the
friends, and you know,
What
it
was
like
the
how to
one
kill friends. And...
where Lucy gets a body?
Oh, I Love Lucy.
Yeah.
That was good too. But that is it. Thank you all so much for being here. Rachel, do you have any predictions of what could be happening in the episode called What to Expect When You're
Dulcea gives
Expecting
birth.
an Alien Parasite?
Johnny will break free of those chains because everybody that they've put in them has broken free of them. That Dutch will maybe briefly wake up, but not fully wake up.
Hannah's getting a very sleepy season.
Yeah.
She's getting to lay down a lot this season.
Yeah, she is. And that Zeph and Turin are actually going to fully butt heads.
About?
Don't know.
About the doll?
Maybe. Or about what to do with Dutch.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Do you think, is there any major thoughts about the alien child? About Dulcea's baby? Because it is a big story thing of the last 2 seasons. And now they're finally getting to the point where birth is going to happen. Like, what do you think that will bring to the show, potentially?
I really don't know, and I'm excited to see what the show does with it. Because there's different ways that they could go about it. But I'm not too interested in guessing at it.
What about what it does to Davin? Because Johnny says
Johnny
you'll have
kept
to
on
choose-
needling that.
You have to choose between fatherhood
And
or
Dutch.
your relationship with Dutch. You can't have both. Where do you think he'll fall? because he has shown that he is interested in fatherhood.
Yeah.
That he's willing to talk to Dulcea.
Yes, and side with her.
Even though she's
Protect
this
her.
person who killed
Give her a very
Potter.
awkward handshake.
Yeah. But that is it. Thank you all so much for being here and listening. Rachel, where can people find us and how can they support the podcast?
They can find us on the various social medias and yumyumpod or yumyumpodcast. If you want to financially support us, Patreon is where you can do that. And we give you stuff in return. If you want to check out what those perks are, head over there. If you just want to support us and have a little bit of time, then please give us a 5-star rating on your podcatcher of choice.
Thank you again, Rachel. It's been a blast. We, during our reaction, talked about road trip with siblings. We talked about what songs we like to play when we go on a road trip. But I'm going to ask you to wrap this out. Do you have a favorite road trip in your life? Is there one that comes to your mind, whether it was for a school trip, with family, with friends, anything that kind of just springs into your mind when it comes to a road trip?
One of my sad road trips is the one that comes to mind.
As a favorite, huh?
Well, it's the one that I first thought of, because even though it was sad, it was also healing.
Like road trips can be.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to clarify any more? No.
Yeah. It was after my dad had passed away, and we being my brother, my stepmother, and I were driving back to where he lived, because he passed away. He was taken to a hospital far away from where he lived to get treatment. And after he passed away, we needed to go back to Forbes to organize things and to have his funeral there. And we did a road trip over to Forbes, and it was a trip that was very familiar to me because my dad, when I was the only one going out to visit him because of the age gap between me and my siblings, he would drive me back to the town where I lived. So this road trip had a lot of the same stops. So doing that and in reverse without him, and getting to see familiar things and do things that I hadn't done as an adult, but having all of these things that reminded me of nice times and road trips with him, while beginning that process of going through my grief.
You and I are both originally from the state of New South Wales. We currently live in the state of Victoria, so New South Wales is more up north, Victoria is more down south. And when I was young, we would always take road trips from my hometown, which was in the mid-north coast, down to Sydney. So we'll always be traveling the same way each time. And it was always nightmares. There was always like some sort of traffic jam or some incident or, we ran out of fuel this one time or this or this or this. Always some headache. So I never look back on those fondly, but they are memorable. But recently, Rachel and I, for a New Year's thing after Christmas, we decided, we're going to go up from where we are in Victoria and go up to Canberra, where some of my family are and some of our friends are. And that was a really great road trip because it was the first time that I had gotten to see like Victoria up through to New South Wales from south to north. Well, usually it's been from north to south. And every other time, it's always been like, I've been on a plane or I've been on a train. It's not the same as when you're driving in a car. And I'm getting to see all of these different flora and fauna and all of that. That was really, really great. And we had a great time. We were listening to The Expanse audiobooks while we were driving. And that was also something sweet and memorable to that as well. But everyone, let us know what have been some memorable road trip for you and or road trip.
You had to get it in there one last time, didn't you?